I'm talking about a small, skinny, lisping child with a huge nose. In other words, a walking target for bullies at school. His childhood years were filled with bullying, beatings, and being pushed around. The situation at home was even worse than on the streets. His parents were separated, and there were 5 siblings. His mother worked and also managed the housework, so her nerves were naturally frayed. When Zlatan misbehaved, which he usually did, his mother would grab a wooden spoon and hit him on the head until it broke. The most tragicomic part is that after the spoon broke, she'd send Zlatan to the market, saying, "Go buy a new spoon, I'm going to beat you again." Time passed, and when he was 9, his mother was arrested. Zlatan packed his bags and moved in with his father, Šefik, who was the building caretaker. Seeing that the child was talented in football, he sacrificed everything to give him a chance. He even went so far as to delay paying his rent and get into a fight with his landlord to pay the football academy fees. But all this sacrifice came at a price. Lack of money. Zlatan always says the same thing when talking about those days. The refrigerator. As a child, my biggest fear was opening the refrigerator because every time I opened it, I was faced with empty shelves. Because of this, he started stealing small things from supermarkets to feed himself. But it didn't stop there. It went beyond just getting by and became a profession. He stole bicycles to get to training and another to get home. Once, he even stole the assistant coach's bicycle just to avoid walking. So, if it weren't for football, we might have seen Zlatan in the headlines as a criminal in prison, or we might never have even heard his name. However, Ibrahimovic had a chance to escape this darkness. Zlatan was a true magician because he grew up playing street football. He wasn't just a footballer, he was also good at taekwondo. That flexibility, those flying kicks, it all comes from there. But thanks to his idol Ronaldo Nazario, his love for football prevailed, and he continued playing. Actually, this difficult childhood definitely transformed him into the tough, uncompromising man we know today. Because he always had to be tough to survive. You can see that in his style of playing football. He even says himself, "I need to be angry to play well." What made him even angrier and more ambitious as a child was feeling inferior to the other kids. No money, old clothes, everyone was making fun of him, but even back then he made a promise to himself, "One day I'll show them." When he turned 15, he faced difficulties at the Malmo Youth Academy. He was about to give up, saying, "I need to earn money, football doesn't feed me." But his coach noticed his potential and somehow convinced him. 2 years passed like this, and at 17, he signed a professional contract with Malmo and joined the first team. It's 1999, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic is now in Malmo's first team. But things are complicated. The team has been relegated. Things are going badly. But there's a kid on the pitch. His touch, his dribbling, his body language screams, "I don't belong here!" Zlatan scores 16 goals in 40 matches for Malmo. But beyond the statistics, it's his aura on the pitch that captivates people. First, the team gets promoted a league, and Ibrahimovic catches everyone's attention. Of course, the European giants sniff out the scent. And guess who knocks first? Arsenal. Arsene Wenger, wearing his famous jacket, welcomes Zlatan to the training facilities, even posing with him in the number 9 Arsenal shirt. Everything seems perfect, but Arsene Wenger says, "Son, come for a trial training session. Let's see you on the pitch." Now, if that were us, what would we do? "Of course, sir, right away," we'd say, putting on our boots, wouldn't we? What does Zlatan do? He looks Wenger in the face and gives the answer that went down in football history. "Zlatan doesn't come to trial trainings. You either want me or you don't." He slams the door and leaves. What kind of self-confidence is that? What kind of madness? You have no money in your pocket, come on. Your future is uncertain, but you're rejecting Arsenal outright. That's when the Zlatan legend, that famous ego, is born. Once the Arsenal chapter is closed, Ajax steps in. They bring Ibrahimovic to Amsterdam for 8 million. Of course, things don't start smoothly at Ajax either. It takes some time for young Zlatan to develop and show his potential on the pitch. It's only when Ronald Koeman takes over that Zlatan becomes Ajax's number 1 striker. He spends 3 years at the club, wins 2 league championships, and scores 48 goals in 110 matches. The statistics clearly show his potential. During this time, he also makes his debut for the Swedish national team, and while on the international team, he gets into a fierce brawl with his Ajax teammate, the Dutch player Rafael van der Vaart. The incident is this. In 2004, Sweden and the Netherlands played a friendly match. During the match, Zlatan tackles the Dutchman, and the man gets injured. Van der Vaart went to the press after the match and cried, saying, "Zlatan did this on purpose. He wanted to injure me." This infuriated Zlatan. When they returned to Ajax, he confronted Van der Vaart in the locker room and threatened him in front of everyone. "You know, I didn't injure you on purpose, but if you accuse me again, this time I'll break both your legs, then it will be on purpose." After this argument, the Ajax fans were divided, with many even siding with their own players. In Zlatan's first match back on the pitch, they booed him from the stands. But what did Zlatan do? He didn't give up, he didn't back down. He took the ball, 1 dribble, 2 dribbles, 3 dribbles, and scored that famous goal that even sent the cameraman to the market. Within 90 minutes, those boos turned into applause. Zlatan learned that day how to transform hatred into love. The truth is, this goal may not have been the best of his career, but it put Zlatan in the spotlight of European football. And right at this moment, the second father figure who would change Zlatan's life enters the scene, Mino Raiola. A former pizza delivery man, pot-bellied, foul-mouthed, but one of the smartest agents in the world. Mino takes Ibrahimovic aside and says, "Son, your statistics are garbage. You're very talented, but you're not scoring goals. If you want to get rich, you'll have to score goals like crazy." And these two begin to make plans that will shake the football world. Their first move is a $16 million transfer from Ajax to Italian giant Juventus. Zlatan's dominance in Italy begins. A hungry, ambitious 22-year-old boy lands in Turin. At Juventus, there's Del Piero, Trezeguet, Nedved, Buffon. Look at the squad. It's like a Champions League all-star team. And luckily, when the striker gets injured, Zlatan seizes the opportunity. Normally, you'd expect him to be an apprentice among these giants, but he takes to the field in such a way that in his first season, he scores 16 goals, bringing Juventus the championship. He's also named Foreign Player of the Year in Italy. Furthermore, he wins the Swedish Player of the Year award for the first time, an award he would later win 14 more times, effectively monopolizing it. But the most crucial event of that season wasn't the goals or the trophies. In one match, Inter's butcher, Marco Materazzi, tackles Zlatan so hard you can hear the sound of bones cracking. Zlatan writhes on the ground. This incident is very important. Remember it, because Ibrahimovic isn't the type to say, "I forgive him. Let the magnanimity remain with me." He'll have to wait to get his revenge, but he will definitely get it in the end. After such a fantastic start in Italy, rumors spread that Juventus rejected a $70 million offer from Real Madrid that summer. The newspapers went wild, but then do you know what came out? The person who spread this rumor is none other than his manager. He made up this story just to increase Ibrahimovic's market value, so people would say, "Wow, Real Madrid is offering $70 million. Anyway, things started to go downhill in his second season at Juventus. Zlatan was moved to the wing, his performance dropped, and the fans started to grumble. They won the championship again, but the real bombshell dropped at the end of the season, the Calciopoli scandal. For those who don't know, the story is this. Juventus manager Moggi rigged matches, fixed games, and committed match fixing. The championships were revoked, and the team was relegated to Serie B, the second division. Now imagine, you're a star. Your team has been relegated to the second division, and legends like Del Piero and Buffon have sworn allegiance, saying, "We will stay here. We will bring the team back up." I don't know what you would do, but would Zlatan play in the second division? No, he wouldn't. Mino Raiola intervenes again, threatening the club. "Either you sell us, or we'll take you to court," he says, and snatches Zlatan off that ship. Where to? To their arch-rivals, Inter. He signs for 25 million euros. After this transfer, jerseys are burned in the streets of Turin. He's declared a traitor, but does Zlatan care? Never. He scores in his first match for Inter and says, "I'm here." He leads the attack alongside Hernan Crespo. Inter wins Serie A with a record 97 points in Zlatan's first season. Zlatan, of course, takes pride in saying things like, "I've been an Inter fan since childhood." In his second season, things get even bigger. He becomes the team's sole boss. He wins 2 consecutive league titles. While winning the championship, he was named Serie A Player of the Year. And then the 2008-2009 season, Jose Mourinho arrived at Inter. It was love at first sight between Zlatan and Mourinho. They understood each other. Both were egotistical, both would do anything to win. Ibra went crazy that season, scoring 29 goals. But every time he scored and looked to the sidelines, Mourinho's complete lack of expression drove him mad. He became even more determined and did better. The result? A third consecutive championship and a second Player of the Year award. He also scored the Serie A Goal of the Year that season. But there was a problem. He had conquered Italy, declared his kingdom, but Zlatan's eyes were elsewhere. The Champions League trophy. After winning everything with Inter, he realized this wasn't going to work. He set his sights on Barcelona, the team playing the best football in the world at the time, the space team, and made the biggest mistake of his career by joining Barcelona. Summer of 2009, Ibrahimovic is 27 years old. At the time, he was arguably the best number 9 in the world. He arrives at Barcelona with a massive package deal, Samuel Eto'o plus 40 million euros. His start is incredible. He scores in all 5 of his first league matches, breaking records. Things are going great. He has a good relationship with Guardiola. The team is running smoothly. Okay, he thinks, the Champions League is coming. But then Messi enters the picture. Messi is also Barcelona's golden boy, the best player in the world at that time. In the middle of the season, he says, "I don't want to play on the wing anymore, I'll play in the center." Guardiola says, "Your wish is my command, sir." The problem is that that's Zlatan's position. To make room for Messi, they put Zlatan on the wing, sometimes even benching him. What can a 1.95-meter tall giant do on the wing? Ibrahimovic describes those days like this. The system changed from 4-3-3 to 4-5-1. I was sacrificed, and I no longer had the freedom I needed to succeed. Despite losing his position, he finished the season with a decent statistic of 21 goals. But things got worse for him as the season progressed. And ironically, who did Barcelona face in the Champions League semi-finals? Inter. Inter, the team Zlatan left saying, "I can't win the Champions League here," eliminated Barcelona. After the match, all hell broke loose in the locker room. Zlatan exploded at Guardiola. Bottles and objects flew through the air. The place turned into a war zone. And he shouted, "You have no balls! Go to hell!" Zlatan expected Pep to say something, to fight back. But what did Pep do? He left the room without saying a word. From that day on, Guardiola stopped speaking to Ibrahimovic. He changes his route when he sees Zlatan at training. Because of this, Zlatan calls him coward, spineless. And the most tragicomic part is that Inter, the team Zlatan left, goes on to win the Champions League that season. At this point, everything is clear. Zlatan and Barcelona's relationship is over. He only lasts one season in Spain. He packs his bags and returns to Italy. But this time to Milan, Inter's arch-rival and the other dominant team in the city. The man literally thrives on chaos. When signing with Milan, he says, "This move gives me adrenaline." He says he came to win the Champions League with Milan, but there's a curse on Zlatan, man. That season, Barcelona, the team he just left, goes on to win the Champions League. Whichever team he leaves, that team wins the trophy. In essence, his arrival at Milan is like the return of a wounded lion. His ego was bruised at Barcelona, and he needs to remind the world who he is. And Milan did that more than adequately. They dominate Serie A again. He wins the championship in his first season with Milan. Thus, he won championships with 3 different clubs. During this time, he also ended Inter's dominance. At Milan, he scored 56 goals in 85 matches, working like a well-oiled machine. And finally, the long-awaited moment arrived. The Milan derby on November 14, 2010. Zlatan was on the field, facing Marco Materazzi, the man who had injured him years earlier at Juventus. Ibrahimovic had been waiting for this moment for 4 years. A situation arose. Zlatan and Materazzi faced each other. Without even blinking, he jumped up and kicked Materazzi in the chest. After the match, reporters asked, "What happened there?" Zlatan's answer was clear. "I've been waiting for this moment for 4 years. I will never forget what was done to me." During his time at Milan, he also scored the most legendary goal of his career, the Sweden-England match. Zlatan scored 4 goals, but the fourth was something else entirely. He was also awarded the Puskas Prize in 2013. In his second season in Milan, despite his individual prowess, they lost the championship to Juventus. Zlatan grew bored, saying, "I need a new thrill," and turned his attention to France. It was the summer of 2012. Paris Saint-Germain, with its new owners, had thrown money around, gathering stars from everywhere. Zlatan was 30 years old. For most footballers, that's the age of decline, right? For Zlatan, it was the warm-up. He was like fine wine, getting better with age. He went to PSG and dominated the league. In his first season, he led the team, which hadn't won a championship in 19 years, to the title, and was named Player of the Year. Of course, he didn't stay quiet. He kicked goalkeepers, hit opponents in the head. He gets penalized, but he's so good on the pitch that nobody can say a word. In his second season, he scores 41 goals in 46 matches. He's both a top scorer and Player of the Year. Third season, fourth season, the man doesn't stop. In the 2015-16 season, at 33 years old, he scores 51 goals in 50 matches. He becomes PSG's all-time leading scorer. He dominates the league so much that the verb to Zlatanize enters the French language. His tweet when he left is a whole other story. "I came like a king, I leave like a legend." He even joked about it, saying, "I'd stay if they erected a statue of me in place of the Eiffel Tower." But despite all this success, the English media and some critics are still grumbling. The French league is easy. Can he maintain that level of toughness in the Premier League? He's 34, his energy will run out, and so on. But would Zlatan stay silent after hearing this? His old friend Mourinho has taken over at Manchester United. Zlatan answers the phone and says, "I'm coming." At 34, he arrives at Manchester United in the world's toughest league. Zlatan scores in his first match. He carries the team throughout the season. They win the League Cup, they win the Europa League. In total, he finishes the season with 3 trophies. He scores 17 goals in 28 league matches and 28 goals in 46 matches throughout the season. The media is shocked, of course. They say, "This man is like Benjamin Button. He gets younger as he gets older." But in April, that terrible moment happens. He goes for a header, lands awkwardly, and twists his knee. He's 35, his ligaments are torn, his knee is shattered. What would normally happen? They would say, "It's time for his retirement, get well soon." Even the doctors say, "This career is over." But Ibrahimovic doesn't give up. He undergoes surgery, works like an animal in rehabilitation. The doctors say, "We've never seen such a knee, such a speed of recovery." He returns to the pitch, but United has signed Lukaku. Zlatan is now considered old and injured, and he can't get playing time. They terminate his contract. Everyone says, okay, he'll go to America and retire. And they're right. He goes to America, but not to retire, but to conquer it. At 36, he signs with Los Angeles Galaxy. Generally, this is a place where footballers relax. Ibrahimovic arrives in the city and places a full-page ad in the Los Angeles Times. Do you know what it says? Just this. "Dear Los Angeles, you're welcome." He plays his first game, a derby against Los Angeles FC. He starts on the bench, comes on, the team is behind. The ball comes to him, he shoots from 40 meters, a goal! Then he goes and scores a last-minute header to win the game. After the match, he speaks to the microphone. "The fans wanted Zlatan, so I gave them Zlatan." Of course, he doesn't stay quiet there either. NBA star LeBron James sends him a jersey to welcome him. What does Zlatan do? He signs the jersey and sends it back to LeBron. And then there's the Carlos Vela incident. He was the star of the league at that time. A journalist asks Zlatan, "They say Carlos Vela is the best player in the league. What do you say?" Zlatan laughs and replies, "How old is Vela? 29. He's playing in MLS at 29. When I was 29, I was the king of Europe, don't even compare." He spends 2 seasons, scores 56 goals in 52 matches, and says, "I've come here too far." At 38, when everyone said he was finished, he decides to return to Europe, to Milan, to finish what he started. When he returns to Milan, the team is in ruins, a mid-table team. Zlatan arrives and starts working with the team. In January 2020, with his goal against Cagliari, he reaches a significant milestone, becoming the first player to score in the 1990s, 2000s, 2010s, and now the 2020s. And in half a season, he gets the team back on track. Entering the 2020-21 season, Ibrahimovic in Milan had an extraordinary start, taking the top spot in the league in January. It's worth noting that Juventus had won 9 consecutive championships up to that point. So, another team winning would mark the beginning of a new era. Everything was going well until Zlatan suffered a season-ending injury, causing Milan to decline, and Inter won the championship. At the end of the second season, Ibrahimovic's contract expired, but he didn't give up. He extended his contract hoping to bring Serie A back to Milan. In the 2021-22 season, the 40-year-old Ibrahimovic was still scoring goals, leading the team, shouting at the younger players, and training them. Milan was chasing the championship, but Zlatan had a secret. For the last 6 months, he played with a torn anterior cruciate ligament. After every match, they drained fluid from his knee, he played with injections, and he couldn't sleep because of the pain. Why? Because he promised Milan a championship. But unfortunately, life is cruel. Zlatan was devastated when Mino Raiola, his biggest supporter, manager, and mentor, passed away. Despite this grief and his injured knee, Milan won the championship again 11 years later, lifting the trophy and keeping his promise. The following season, even though he pushed himself, his body finally gave up. At 41, he bid farewell to football in tears in front of tens of thousands of fans at San Siro. 5 on 70 career goals, 34 trophies. The child from the Malmo ghetto who stole food out of hunger reached the pinnacle of football in this way. Looking back today, Zlatan no longer remembers that empty refrigerator. He can't. Because now Zlatan's refrigerator is not just full of food, it's full of trophies, records, and a huge ego. That's the kind of iconic character who passed through football. Thanks for watching this far. If you liked the video, please like it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to our SportX Radar YouTube channel. See you in the next video.